For most games, there are usually a few categories that stand at the forefront of the leaderboard. Typically, this includes a game's version of any percent, where the player is tasked with running through the game as fast as possible by any means necessary. We talked about Pokémon Snap in a previous world record video and covered the any percent category. But now, let's focus on the less common category, 100%. In 100%, you have to take a picture of all 63 Pokémon by going to all 7 stages. The route for 100% is almost identical to any percent up until the 6th stage, Valley, where runners are required to get every single Pokémon they can. There is less emphasis on getting high scores in the latter half of the run, because everything you need points for is unlocked earlier in the run. Snap any percent is more of an eloquent foray into precision picture taking. But 100% is a down and dirty RNG circus. Let's begin. The 100% category is less popular than the any percent category for one major reason: RNG. In any percent, the biggest RNG factor is Cloyster, which has a 25% chance to spawn in 3 separate locations. Runners only need 1 Cloyster, so the odds of Cloyster spawning at least once is about 58%. In 100% though, there is a similar situation that occurs at the very end of the run, Arcanine and Growlithe. At the end of Volcano, there are 3 spots where Arcanine or Growlithe can spawn. Arcanine has a 25% chance to spawn and Growlithe has a 75% chance to spawn. Because runners need to get both Arcanine and Growlithe, the odds are a little worse than Cloyster's, about 56%. You may remember RaikerZ from our any percent video. In 2013, he was on top of the any percent mountain, but before all that, in 2011, he was trailblazing a seldom run category at the time, Pokémon Snap 100%. Raiker did not invent the 100% category or its rules, so it's possible that there were other runners before him, but no footage or records remain.
I think someone else came up with the category. I don't think it was put anywhere. Like, I'm sure there were people that had run it and like had times. I can't remember anyone. Gia might have been one, but it was pretty much, even back then, it was known as, if you do 100%, you're just adding more RNG into this game, and you're making your life miserable.
RaikerZ's first 100% run was a 29:07, but we aren't going to talk too much about it because of the vast differences between it and the rest of the records that follow it. Also because he was using a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet for splits and it would stick out like a sore thumb. So our story begins with his 27:18.
Welcome back. See you.
It's a decent run marred by a less than optimal second tunnel and a comically bad Mew fight. RaikerZ would continue to run the game though, eventually lowering his time to a 26:24 on November 5th, 2012. Raiker does a couple things in the beginning of the run to save time. In Tunnel, by setting up Magnemite and Magneton sooner, he's able to snipe Electrode faster and leave Tunnel quicker than his previous best time. Overall, he also has better control of the cart. Despite what everyone thinks, Pokémon Snap is not an autoscroller, it's an on-rails shooter, and as such, you can move the cart depending on what direction you're looking in when not using the camera. On his second trip through Tunnel, he doesn't slow down for Zapdos. To get Zapdos, you need to bring Pikachu close to the egg with an apple-shaped Pokémon food, then play the flute. This will trigger Pikachu to hatch the egg with the Thunder move. By setting Pikachu up faster and from farther away, Raiker doesn't need to slow down at all to trigger the Zapdos, saving himself about 10 seconds. Lastly, he improves his Mew fight.
A lot of our issues... So, the problem with that one was just getting to that point. It didn't happen a lot, and then you were like super stressed. You're like, I have to have a good Mew fight. And it would just be like, there goes the run.
A little over a month later, a runner named Shredwot is doing attempts, when he gets a pretty decent run. A few things immediately set his run apart from RaikerZ's. He was playing the Japanese version of the game, which saves about 20 seconds over the English version that RaikerZ was playing on. Additionally, Shredwot incorporates lag reduction into the run, which is looking to an area where less is going on to reduce in-game lag. And as if all of this weren't enough, Shredwot even button mashes faster than RaikerZ. Despite all of these improvements, Shredwot only tied the world record with a 26:24. The tie wouldn't stand for long, and a few days later, on December 19th, 2012, Shredwot saves an additional 13 seconds to a 26:11 by cleaning up his gameplay.
Yeah! Got another world record.
On Christmas 2012, RaikerZ would lower the world record to a 25:47. Now faced with competition, Raiker decided to adopt the lag reduction ideas and switch to the faster version of the game on N64. It was discovered that the Wii Virtual Console was notably slower than the N64, so all future runs we cover are going to be on the N64. On September 4th, 2013, RaikerZ gets a time of 25:22. This run was great all around. By all accounts, this run would have been considered a good any percent run before Raiker entered Cave. This run introduces a new trick called early MOLTRES. MOLTRES is in an egg on a bridge, but by throwing an apple at the egg, MOLTRES falls into the lava and hatches. Right as MOLTRES emerges from the lava, it's possible to take a quick picture and submit it to Professor Oak. This picture isn't worth very much, but points matter less at 100% because you have to take a picture of all the Pokemon anyway. Getting a quick photo of MOLTRES, albeit a bad one, lets you leave Volcano earlier and save seconds over the previous strategies. A few weeks after RaikerZ's 25:22, another runner comes to take the world record. Spark, who also held the any percent world record that same year, lowers the record down to 25 minutes even.
Here it is.
Welcome back. See you.
I just remember he showed up in a race and he enjoyed the game. So back then it was a lot of me. I think there were a couple of other people that were a part of it. But he came to me and said, "Hey, I'm learning this game. What do you know about it?" And it's like, here's what I know.
By getting a good Weeping Bell cycle, he's able to leave Cave faster. And by using the dash engine to boost through Tunnel without slowing down, he also saves a few seconds his second time through Tunnel. While his run can be seen as an improvement, an interesting thing to note is that this run does not use early MOLTRES, nor do many of the runs that occur after it. Early MOLTRES becomes a trick that is forgotten to time until 2016, and runners would use poseless MOLTRES instead. Poseless MOLTRES waits for MOLTRES to hatch, but takes the picture before it can pose, which is faster than posed MOLTRES but slower than early MOLTRES. Spark's 25-minute flat would stand for over a year until the man with the greatest Twitch layouts of all time would take the record for himself. The same man who once got the any percent world record while eating spaghetti with his bare hands came to assert his dominance over 100%. That man was Gamefandan. All dominant runners have humble beginnings, and on November 1st, 2014, Gamefandan would lower the record by 1 second.
Welcome back. See you.
Dude, I got world record! That's it!
Gamefandan would bring the Mankey Snipe to 100%, which helped him save enough time to pass up Spark.
We got him! Yes, dude! Fuck yeah!
By playing better and more frequently, Gamefandan would eventually lower his time down to a 24:45.
Welcome back. See you.
Yeah!
Remember earlier when we talked about the concept of tricks being forgotten to history? Shredwot was running the Japanese version of the game all the way back in 2012. When RaikerZ took back the world record from him at the time, he did so partially by playing on the N64 version of the game. And while runners knew that the N64 was faster than the Wii Virtual Console, nobody had been running the game in Japanese since 2012.
We actually knew that there was a spot that Japanese was faster, but there was also that little lag after, I think it was after each photo. Like if you got a wonderful, there's like this little tiny lag. So the test we ran, actually, we found that it was a bit slower, but I guess the text over game, we must have missed something.
The Japanese version of the game saves about 20 seconds throughout the run because of fewer and faster text boxes. Gamefandan would try out the Japanese version of the game for 100%, and on December 2nd, 2014, would lower the record down to 24:24.
Oh. I split a little early, but yes, this is the new world record. Dude, wait, I split a little early, so that means the new world record is 24:24.
And after that, would go on to lower it to a 24:20 using the same strategies.
Oh, we did it! Even if it was only by 4 seconds, we fucking did it! Yes! Fuck yeah!
Gamefandan was on top of the prestigious 100% mountain for over 2 years, until finally someone was able to improve upon the world record. On November 9th, 2015, ArghMyToast gets a 24:12.
I can't believe it. Oh my god. I have officially swept Pokemon Snap. I swept Pokemon Snap, guys. Oh my god, I fucking swept it.
Toast is able to save some time by not getting Pikachu riding Electrode. This setup meant taking 3 pictures of Pikachu to get it into position, and then waiting for Electrode to cross the screen for Pikachu to ride. Instead, Toast just takes a picture of Pikachu at the start of tunnel and moves on his merry way. Toast was on really good pace, and would have saved even more time if it weren't for some poor menuing in Cave and a slow Weeping Bell. About a month later, a runner named Drogie was streaming attempts of 100%. Drogie was running against Toast's world record splits at the time. Drogie was about a second behind going into the final split. It was going to be close.
I think it was more because Toast got the world record, and I was watching that live, and he was like, "Oh my god, I killed it! I was like, yeah, it was good, but not that good. I could beat it."
Drogie had gotten a 24:12.
liegt drin. World Record! We in! Ah, endlich! Endlich!
Wait a second, didn't ArghMyToast also have a 24:12? ArghMyToast's run was retimed at 24:12 and 400 milliseconds, and Drogie's run was retimed at 24:12 and 16 milliseconds. Drogie had gotten the 100% world record by 0.3 of a second. After that, Drogie would go on to lower his time more and more, first to a 24:04,
And time. It actually is world record. Okay. That surprised me somehow, because this run was like complete trash.
and then to a 24 even.
24:00. Wie frustrierend.
And later to a 23:57. Drogie starts reincorporating early MOLTRES back into the runs, which helps save more and more time over the previous world records. The rest was mostly in cart movement optimizations and better lag reduction. What Drogie did next was a little more to write home about. On November 2nd, 2016, Drogie was streaming attempts for Pokémon Snap any percent on Twitch. He had a run start that was middle of the road. After making a few mistakes, Drogie decides to turn his bad any percent run into a 100% run. Since the route is identical through the first 5 stages of the game, runners can switch as long as they make the appropriate changes at Cave. So Drogie decides he's going to finish the run as a 100% run, which suddenly meant he was on pace for a world record. While approaching the end of cave, Drogie throws a Hail Mary apple at Weepinbell as it's about to round the front of the pool. With a hope and a prayer, the apple smacks the Weepinbell into the water and starts the evolution process significantly sooner, saving about 10 seconds.
I remember that we were like YOLOing it pretty much. We were just winging it at first, and especially in Hondo, we would just throw apples and hope we would hit something.
Drogie then gets a better Mankey snipe in Valley, which saves him a few more seconds over the previous record. Drogie would finish this run 17 seconds ahead with a new world record of 23:40.
Oh my god. Let's go. Let's fucking go. World record by 17 seconds. Oh, nice. Nice.
Drogie's run would stand uncontested for quite some time, but not forever. Quo had been part of the Pokémon Snap community since 2014 and had held the any percent world record in 2015. Later, he would go on to get the world record in any percent again in 2017, and is the current world record holder in that category. Despite his success, Quo had never held the 100% world record, and with Drogie moving on to play other games, and nobody else seriously running the category, Quo was able to lower the world record down to 23:37 on February 27, 2018.
Double cool. I hate this game.
Oh no, it's hard to explain. Like, okay, I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it. I'm definitely good at the game, and that's what got me this time. But like, most of the reasons why I beat him was because of new strats.
Some of the optimizations Quo brought over from any percent include a faster electrode strat for early apples, a faster Weepinbell snipe, and better lag reduction.
The biggest thing was like, one of the biggest things was so the 4K Pidgey or Dynamo Sounds Pidgey, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
wasn't known back in
DSP.
2016. Oh yeah, DSP classic. So it wasn't known back in 2016. So I was able to save like 6 seconds or something in Tunnel 1 just because I got the early electrode.
The run definitely wasn't perfect. There were a few big mistakes, one of which is I entered the Pokemon report, which wasted about 5 seconds, and then I re-entered Beach Drink Signs that wasted another like 8 seconds or something like that.
A better setup was found for Weepinbell snipe, which made it easier during the run. Weepinbell's movements are RNG based, so getting a good cycle is dependent on luck. But by looking at a certain part of the ceiling, Quo was able to throw a few apples from farther away, which allowed him to get a picture of Victory Bell sooner. This trick, too, saved a few seconds over Drogie's run. Lastly, menuing became a much more important part of both the any percent and 100% categories. Runners had gotten consistently faster at picture submissions, getting essentially frame-perfect menuing. This optimization saves Quo frames everywhere in his run over Drogie. So that's where we are now. The 100% category is fairly less popular than the any percent category, but it still has its merits. While 100% has had fewer runners over time, its history is deeply intertwined with the any percent run and the history of the speed game in general. In fact, most of the any percent world record holders have held the 100% world record simultaneously. 100% remains as the crowd favorite category for the game, and there remains plenty of optimizations to work out. We can expect to see many more innovations in this category in the future. An expanded version was released called Fable: The Lost Chapters for Xbox, PC, and Mac. It featured additional content, an unreleased epilogue, a new playable region, and a new ending to the story. In the 13 years that followed, a small group of gamers have transformed Fable: The Lost Chapters from an epic adventure to an 80-minute sprint. This is the story of Fable: The Lost Chapters speedrunning history.